Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of GalaxyCon's virtual hangouts, where we are bringing convention-style entertainment directly to you. And today, we will be returning to the All-Valley Karate Championship scene with the cast of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. And now is the time for all of you in our chat room to begin submitting your questions for today's panelists, where our producers will be looking for the best questions you can come up with involving all of their guests and all their contributions to this ongoing series. Originally released in 1984, the original Karate Kid was met with critical and box office acclaim, grossing over $90 million, generating 3 sequels, 1 reboot, and cementing its place in pop culture history as a beloved coming-of-age film and martial arts movie. Then, in 2017, John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Harold campaigned and acquired the permission to develop a sequel series that would revisit many of the original characters and introduce several new ones. That series would be called Cobra Kai, and has become one of the most highly acclaimed streaming series of all time, holding a 97% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and has been hailed as the model of how to revitalize a pre-existing franchise to old and new fans alike. Today, GalaxyCon is thrilled to have 3 actors from the cast joining us for the next 50 minutes. And immediately after this, you will have the opportunity to talk to them directly through our private chat options, as well as purchasing autographs and personalized video recordings. Some of these options are limited, so please head over to galaxy.com now for more details. And now, without further ado, let's bring them out. First, he is a veteran actor whose roles include the cult classic Death Wish Race 2000, Rambo First Blood Part 2, and the critically acclaimed television series Cagney Lacey. Today, he is here to talk about his role as Sensei John Kreese. Please welcome Mr. Martin Kove.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, boss, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing swell. Next, his credits include the cult comedy Up the Academy, Crossroads, and HBO's The Deuce. Today, he is here as the owner of the LaRusso Auto Group. Please welcome Ralph Macchio.
And there I am. Hey, man, how are you?
We're good, boss. How you holding up?
I'm holding up pretty well.
And that is the best we could all hope for. And finally, he is an actor, writer, and director whose body of work includes The Equalizer, Hot Tub Time Machine, and the Academy Award nominated short film Most. Today he joins us as part-time handyman Johnny Lawrence. Please welcome our friend William Zabka. Thank you, everyone. Please hold your applause until the end of the show. Thank you.
Oh, let me hold that. There we go. Sorry about that.
William, how you holding up?
Hey,
I'm holding up good, man. How you holding up?
We're all doing fine. Head above water, and we're looking forward to the day that we can get all you gentlemen back on our stages and in front of your fans in person. So, and until then, we're so glad to have you here in this format.
Great to be here, man. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thank
Cool. What I would love to do is I'd like to ask some opening questions. First of all, I've asked you this before, but for our audience, I'd like for them to hear this story. Where did Karate Kid originally begin for each of you?
For me, it was an audition in New York City with the late great John Avildsen, who directed all 3 of the Karate Kid films I was in. He had directed Rocky and among many other films at the time. And it was, it was a script. It's an audition for this movie called The Karate Kid. I was like, that's a terrible title. But I went and met him, and that videotape actually you can check out on YouTube. My audition and Pat Morita's audition, who played Mr. Miyagi, intercut. You could find that on YouTube. The first time I ever read those words. So it's pretty cool to see that still resonate with people. And it was, life changed from there. It was very exciting. So that's where it began for me.
Nice.
Marty, can you hear me okay?
Well, I was brought in just to read this heavy that I was doing Cagney Lacey, and it was a break, and I read the script, and it seemed like just another heavy. And I went in there and had very little time to prepare. And one day, actually, and I went in there and berated our director, and abused him and screamed at him, and did the scene "Mercy is for the Weak." And this, as Ralph said, it appeared to be like the title was a Bruce Lee movie, and it wasn't something that I couldn't put the pieces together that it would have the iconic experience of that we've all had. And I truly enjoyed being on there, and the dynamics were great with the director and the Cobra Kai, and working with Ralph and Pat. And it was kind of like, it was an experience that was vague because I didn't know it would go anyplace. And I was I think I was on the set for 2 weeks. And then I went back to Cagney and Lacey, just playing it by ear, you know, and then it exploded. So I think I just looked at it as I was doing another heavy, but I never zeroed in on how brilliant the script was, because that's who I think the star was. You know, Ralph and Billy and Pat were just brilliant. But the bottom line was, I think Robert Mark Kamen was truly the star of this whole piece, and that's why I did it.
Right on. How about you, William?
Well, let's see. First of all, Marty, can you hear me? Marty can't hear me somehow. Just FYI. Rob, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Rob, I mean, it's better that Marty can't hear me, but it's probably
Because he's tired of the story.
probably help if you click
But I can't hear him.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. He's got a
Martin, if you can, go ahead and refresh your screen. You might be able to hear it. Billy, keep going.
Okay, so so for where I could start for me, I was 17. I had just graduated high school. I was going to Cal State Northridge as a film major, and I was going into filmmaking, directing, and writing, and producing. And I always wanted to be an actor, and I dreamed of being an actor. But I went to film school. I didn't go to acting school. In the meantime, I had an agent, and I got a phone call. Can you hear me now, Marty?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, I'll stop talking about you. Anyway, I got a phone call one day out of the blue. I think I was at the gym and to go to Columbia Pictures and meet Penny DuPont, who I met on another casting. She's a casting director, and Carol Jones, who cast Karate Kid, and to go down and have a meeting with them. So I walked in, and I remember this little bungalow. I walked into them, and they were kind of scanning me like, they seem to be perfect for this character. And take a script home and read it, and come back tomorrow and read for John Avildsen, who directed the film. And the character was Johnny Lawrence, and that's all I knew. Read the part of Johnny. So I went home and I read the script, and it was amazing. I was totally engaged and loved it. But the thing was, Johnny was a black belt, a motorcycle rider. I didn't know karate. I never rode a motorcycle in my life, so that just seemed out of reach. But something about the scene they gave me, it was very natural. I went in and met with John Avildsen, and I remember pulling up to the bungalow at Columbia, and there was a bunch of guys, Johnny hopefuls, all sitting in the waiting room. And I remember walking in and signing in, and each of them were in character, so everybody was kind of out. Either they were memorizing the lines or whatever. It wasn't a very friendly environment. So I popped back out to my dad's 1970 Volvo, called some Zebra, which is a T-shirt I proudly wear. Cobra Kai, which is a tribute to that, and waited for my turn to get called in, and I got called in. I met with John, and it was intimidating at first because I knew he directed Rocky, and I was a huge fan, and I'm like, wow, this is like a real director. And but I walked in, and he was just his demeanor was so calm, and he was so nurturing and so engaging, and he set me he kind of set me free. Like if he was one of these directors, I met a lot of stuff, but he was just so interested. And so I did that audition, and then I went home, and then about a week or so later, I got a phone call to come in and with Ralph Macchio, which was another one of them gods, because I love The Outsiders. I knew who he was, and I was a commercial actor. And now I'm showing up doing all this stuff and having to find that somehow. So that was the same way that John was really in the parking lot. I don't think I've said this before, but I was really nervous, and I think I stumbled over a couple lines. Ralph doesn't remember this because he read with 1,000 guys. I was just another long dude with a headband. But I remember, going over the scene with them. I remember clunking a line, like I forgot, I blanked out, and either he covered for me, or there was a rewrite because, oh yeah, I think we changed this and that, and so his temperament also set me at ease, and then I went in and wrote with him, and it was 3 guys left. I think Rob Garrison, who played Tommy in Karate Kid, and one other guy, and me. I think it was down to 3. And, So I went in bed with Ralph, and then the other guys went in and out, and I waited in the parking lot. The sun was going down, like an old high school movie. I was waiting for Ralph to walk out with his briefcase, He walks out, and I kind of, I said, "Hey, man, how'd it go in there?" He goes, "Oh, yeah. They were all good. Everybody was good." And I said, "What do you think? What do you think?" He goes, "Well, I think it was good." He goes, "But I told John, you scared the shit out of me." I felt good, Okay. And then,
Still to this day.
Right? Yeah, so that was it. That's my thing. And then I went home, and then I got a call another 2 or 3 weeks later because they were just casting forever. It didn't happen fast. And then my next call-in was to come in with sweatpants and meet a man named Pat Johnson, who was our trainer. He's a 9-3 black belt Chuck Norris guy, and he trained us, choreographed the whole film. And I was sent to a sound stage where there was a bunch of rubber pads, and I didn't know what I was doing. I got there, and he just kind of bent me and stretched me and lifted my leg and had me do some push-ups and whatever. And next thing, he walked over to some bat phone on the wall and said something in code. And then he said, "Okay, son, you can go home." And I didn't know still what was going on. I went home, and later that day, I got a phone call from my agent saying, "You got the part." But the last thing I'll say about this is when they said I got the part, I said, "Which one?" Because there was 5 Cobra Kais. And they're like, "Oh, well, I don't know. Which one is it?" I'm like, "Is it Johnny? Is it Tommy? Is it Bob?" Like, "Oh, we'll call you right back." So they're not knowing which one I was going to be. And then they're like, "Oh, it's Johnny?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's the guy, man. I love it." So anyway, that's what happened. The rest is history,
Definitely. So
This is a 1-question panel. That was it.
That's it.
well,
Guys, I got to go.
Yeah, he's gone now. He's going to study Gettysburg Address for the next question.
well, let's see. Martin scared the crap out of the director, and William scared the crap out of the lead. So we're all learning something today about the casting process. This is very good. You all reprised the characters in the No More Kings music video that you directed, William, the Sweep the Leg, Johnny. How did that evolve, and do you think that might have kept the pilot light alive to get to Cobra Kai?
It did for me. I don't know. I think so. I think it had something to do with, at that point, many years had gone by. Karate Kid was behind me. I was happy to kind of move on, and it just kept popping up in pop culture in different ways. It was all of a sudden when it was starting to kind of evolve and become a thing that was enduring, and so this band wrote "Sweep the Leg," and I met the guy, the head of the label, and he said, "I want you to be in a music video. Listen to this cool band." And he took me for a boat ride in Florida and cranked it on the speaker, "Sweep the Leg, Johnny." And I wanted to jump off into the sharks. I'm like, I'm not wearing a headband. I'm not doing the thing. And I said, "What?" I said, "Listen, if you let me have creative control of it, write it and direct it, and I'll try to do something really special with it." And so he said, "Okay, we'll go write something." I wrote something, and I had put everybody in there. I plugged everybody. I had Marty in there. I hadn't talked to Marty for a long time. I had Ralph in there. Like, okay, we'll see, And I knew I could get the Rob and Tony and Ron back like this, but so it was a process. And then met with Marty, and we went to a coffee shop, and I showed him the script, and he wasn't quite grasping it. I said, "Come to the car." So we went to his convertible and put the convertible back, and I popped the CD in. And he lit a cigar, and we cranked "Sweep the Leg," and he just got this smile on his face, and he just kind of got it. Anyway, and it evolved. It was great. And then at the very end, I had a scene for Ralph, but Ralph was in New York. He wasn't sure he could do it, and I sent him the rough cut up to where he would come in. He saw it, and he said, "Okay, I'm coming. Let's go do it." It was great, and yeah, it went kind of viral in those days, and it opened me up to the idea that there were so many fans still out there. I mean, me more than I imagined, that knitting classes and volleyball, it was like Cobra Kai's a thing and Karate Kid is still marching on. And so it felt good to do something that was a spoof and a comedy and for it to be received that way. Because up to that point, everybody knew me as, it was just fun to have fun with myself is what I'm saying. So and I think that was one of the building blocks. And then Ralph did his video, Wax On, Bleep Off.
Yep.
I've had a piece.
Right.
All these things were.
Well, it's interesting because it's every couple of as we built up to Cobra Kai now that is just turned out. We're just so excited with this show and the reception it's had, and with season 3 on the launch pad, we're just it's just so exciting that these seeds like Sweep the Leg the No More Kings, the music video that Billy directed, and the Wax On F Off Funny or Die thing that I did a couple years later, and the How I Met Your Mother cameos, and you know, that we've all been involved with, and in some form. You see the audience, they would just rush to the stage every time and just rush back to the stage. So it was ripe for a resurgence and a reboot, for lack of a better description. But you know, it's all in the execution. And in the case of all these projects, and certainly with Cobra Kai now, it's because of the great writing, like alluding to what Marty said earlier about Robert Mark Kamen, who wrote the original Karate Kid. If it's not on the page, it's not on the stage, you know, kind of theory. But then you add the element of the casting that was done from the get-go with John Avildsen and the original film, and the three of us and the other cast members, Pat Morita and Randy Heller, Elizabeth Shue, and all these. It's a chemistry. It's like this perfect storm of characters and actors that take those words and bring them to the level where it becomes bigger than just the movie. It becomes fandom in pop culture. And we are, you know, the recipients of the beneficiaries of that.
So when did you each get the phone call? Oh, sorry, Martin, you want to say something?
No, I was just saying that I watched Casablanca during this day a couple of days ago, and I just was, you know, seeing it so many times, and I just watched the things that Ralph's talking about, the relationships, you know, everyone's relationship to each other, whether it's the bartender, and I watched the small stuff because I've seen the movie so many times. And the fact, and the whole concept of how everybody, as he said before, runs up the stage because of all these little gloves that are being dropped throughout the industry about our show over the last 30 years. Here you have a movie, you know, all these years later, and you can see why it worked because of the same dynamics. The actors were so defined with one another, the nationalism that was happening in 1940. It's kind of the same thing, and yet, you know, we made a movie now, what, 60 years later, and yet 30 years after that, we're doing a TV series, and it's all for the same reasons, the same cinematic emotional reasons of relationships and the proper lines and the edits. You know, all the stuff with 1906 and the Great Train Robbery and silent movies, or it's Karate Kid. It's all, I think, shows like ours work all for the same reasons, you know, and appeal to everyone from whatever, you know, whatever, you know, trend of life you're in, you know.
Absolutely. What's been the best part of revisiting these characters in this fantastically protracted format, which really gives them full depth of character?
Who's waiting to go first?
I'll go first. I mean,
go ahead, Billy.
You know, because Johnny he sort of not two-dimensional because he had depth, and that's why he exists still. You know, he was just two-dimensional. But you know, to have the fun thing for me was, and what I said when they pitched to me is, I just don't want to be I don't want this to be a big setup for me to be the biggest a-hole of all time, and I'm going to go down ultimately with a crane kick to the face. You know, like again, like I already did the quintessential bad guy. I want him to have depths and layers and all that. So that they're writing to that, and they're writing so much humanity into him, and you know, brokenness and all that's fun stuff to climb out of as an actor. So it's just been really juicy stuff they're writing, and they're super fans of the show, and got their finger on the pulse, and to be able to trust the writing and just jump in and, you know, let go has been thrilling. So
yeah, and they dive into these characters now dive into the gray areas of who they are. Whereas in the Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid, it was very black and white. The good guys were good and the bad guys were bad. What's so enriching about Cobra Kai and is that we get to, be it John Kreese or Johnny Lawrence or Daniel LaRusso, you see all different shades of their personalities. You see Daniel and Johnny that are so polar opposite, but then when you look and you peel it back, they're not that different. They just had, you know, they came through it a different way. And that's been really fun to watch the audience's reaction to, like, they could see clearer than these two guys can see. and it's very entertaining to watch that, and as it evolves going forward, that even gets deeper and more exciting.
Each season, there's been a moment between the two characters where everybody's on their edge, like they're finally going to bury the hatchet. They're finally going to do this. And then a left turn and then something happens and to knock it over.
Right. Well, yeah, the writers always, when we originally pitched this idea, they would talk about that being the Ross and Rachel of the Cobra Kai series. Like they're going to get together. No, they're not. They're going to get, it keeps that ball up in the air. But, it's a fine balance, if you will. And these guys, these creators, and all of us involved talk it through and trying to find that so the longevity continues.
And Martin, it's been a pleasure to see you play the character. You described him as he was going to be portrayed as really, really bad and a little bit good. And you have absolutely delivered that in your performance.
Thank you. Well, he's just kind of misunderstood. He's not evil. I think in the beginning, like Ralph said, it was black and white. And now, especially in season 3, you'll learn a lot more about the character. And, it's fun because Johnny Lawrence is his son. That's how he feels about Johnny Lawrence, which governed throughout season 2, all his emotions and the ups and downs and the roller coaster ride that we take this character on. But we're constantly dropping gloves that he has some sensitivity and some form of illusion, and yet some form of concrete strength of what he wants for Cobra Kai, because Cobra Kai never dies, and the only thing probably more important to him than Johnny Lawrence is Cobra Kai, the integrity of Cobra Kai. So he's willing to go very, very far into the stratosphere to maintain that, which of course goes against normality, which Miyagi-Do and what Billy's teaching his students now. It's not as dark, but yet as far as John Kreese is concerned, it's wrong. So it's quite interesting to play the character, and they write the levels, as both Billy and Ralph were saying, they write our characters on such levels that it's a pleasure to play. I always wondered whenever I watched a serial killer movie and I saw how dark it was, especially like the Joker. It's not quite my cup of tea, but to act that, to really do that, is a gas. I mean, to really, undercover and research and do all that. Those characters are great to play. I couldn't live on a diet of those movies because they're so heavy and dark. But as an actor, all three of us, I'm sure would love to do that, as it is John Kreese.
Absolutely. What I would love to do right now is let's see what kind of questions we have out of our chat room. So, Jude, why don't we go ahead and roll the first one? This one comes from Deljit. I hope I pronounced that right. What's the best part of coming back to Cobra Kai?
We get to hang out all over again. We get to give a piece of this gift that came to us in the Karate Kid and continue telling that stories and characters that still resonate and have new things to say, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. So it's and also I always mention this because I so much enjoy working with the young cast in our show and how much pride they take in being a part of it. So that's really enriching as well, for me at least.
Yeah, I agree. It's just been amazing. It's been like reconnecting. I can only say reconnecting with a high school best friend. Like nothing's changed, everything's changed, but nothing's changed. It just gets in. It's thrilling to, and it's a rediscovery of yourself too, in a way. I never really was. I don't know. I always was thinking of what more could Johnny Lawrence, what could we do more with this thing? Like it was stirring in me for many years after Sweep the Leg, especially. I was just kind of, there's a code to this. There's something out there that it's not done, Yeah. So the fact that it landed and it came through 3 brilliant writers who were just incredible human beings as well, and for them to serve this up so passionately and professionally, it's a dream. It's really a miracle in a sense. Yeah. So it's been thrilling in every way, and mostly, really, truly, is to see the fans for us personally, that's our experience. But what's incredible is the communication and the translation and how it's reaching generations from the people that saw the original in the theaters to their kids and to grandparents, and to realize you're a part of something like that is you can't put words to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Same feelings. When I first met them at a restaurant, and they said, "We want you to come in season 1, episode 10," and they explained everything to me that I wanted to know, that I thought I was the only one who considered, how are we going to develop the character? I don't want to be, just a heavy. And they had all the right answers. So somehow you knew you were in the proper hands of the producers. And it wasn't just, we need a bad guy in there.
Yeah.
They really just had great plans and knew everything about your character that you thought only you knew, So it was a pleasure to work under those conditions.
Excellent. Thank you for that question, Intelligent. Let's see. What do we have next? From Brahana. For all three, what was the most emotionally difficult scene to film in season 2?
Well, that's easy for me. Outside of the ones when I have to get hit, those are always difficult. No, the most.
Oh dear, I think we lost Ralph.
No, you didn't. He's doing this. He does this all the time.
Oh, does he? Oh, okay.
He stops mid-thought and freezes.
There you go. You're back. I'm back. Are you guys back?
Yeah, you're back.
We're all back. We're all back. Hey, Marty, could I ask you to while they're answering, could you refresh your screen? You're getting a little drag time. There we go. All right.
Okay. So you want me to? I'll finish up.
Mr. Ralph, you have the floor.
Yeah. So the season 2 was one of the first scenes I shot was at the Miyagi house, which was rebuilt in another state. We shoot in Georgia. And I had to do all these scenes with Tanner Buchanan, who plays Robbie, Johnny's son, and teaching him, sort of taking him through all the chores in the backyard, the painting the fence, the sanding the deck, and all that stuff. And I stood there that day, and I just, for the moment, it all just was so emotional because so much magic happened in that location, in that backyard, even though it was a different place. That's sort of the heart and soul of the LaRusso father, son, mentor, student stuff. And there was this nostalgic rush of emotion that I really had to sort of leave and go back to my dressing room for a little bit, because it was twofold. It was part the fact that, okay, I'm doing these scenes that have so much touched my life and everyone else by seeing this film. And but then it was also the realization that now I'm the old guy, and now sadly the filmmakers, Pat Morita, the producer, the director of that original film that created that forum for that magic to happen, were no longer with us. And it just I just looked up, and it was about them. It was very, very touching, emotional moment, and it was hard. And then when I went back, and as soon as we started doing the scene, it became the work, and it became the scene with Tanner and Robbie and adult Daniel, and no longer me reminiscing about where it all started. But that one's a story that I'll always remember.
Good. Thank you for sharing.
I think that in season 2, the first episode there, where I go in and bring Johnny his trophy, and I think that it was very emotional for me, because I took it all like, this is my son and he's rejecting me, and I tried my best to work it out and couldn't do it vis-a-vis that episode. And ultimately it was very sad for me, because I kept using my son as a son rejecting me, and it was very touching. I never thought John Kreese would feel those things, but it was just happening because it was written so well. It was just happening that you couldn't go any place but to be melancholy and to be feel like it was the end of the world. And, giving him the trophy, so many people think the character was manipulating, but I never felt myself. I never played manipulation. I just played my heart, that I was losing my son. And for me, that was the most emotional situation. And then, of course, it's always interpreted that I have 5 agendas going on as John Kreese. So I just, you just go, go with the flow. But he has a love affair with his son, and now it was going away, and it was very, very, very depressing for me. And then he calls me, says, "Hold it," and then everything changes.
Yeah. That was a favorite scene of mine of that season as well, too.
No, thank you.
I don't know. It's hard to pick that. What's mostly difficult? It was very emotional. A lot of emotional scenes in this scene. I love the first thing. I think there's a lot of emotional scenes for Johnny that in season 2, but I think definitely working with Marty was the most difficult in the sense of, because in real life we're like teddy bear, we're like we're very father-son kind of mentor type of relationship. I don't know. It was tough. Like when he walked in and we had to fight, the physical part of the fight. There was a lot of emotion in that. I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it was painful, in a good way, because there's a love, but there's also a resistance. But that, so the scene I loved was the one also in the shelter when he's when you see where he really lives, and I followed him, and everything he's been telling me is bullshit. Yeah, now he's sitting on a cot in this room. And, that was some really special stuff, for us. It was just honest and, just a great tone in the room, great camera, great director on that. And it happened. And I love when things happen.
Yeah.
So, all emotions. But, those were the ones. And then the one in the diner with Miguel, talking about, I think the most, difficult in the way that was most painful was Johnny talking about his son that he missed. And, there's so many people like that, I have a godson. I raised a boy, he's almost 30 something now. And his dad wasn't around. And, and I love him like a son. And I've been his dad. Obviously I get the calls, and he's my buddy and he's a rock star now, like literally. But, I remember the pain of that. And so I drew on that, and that was emotional. Difficult. So, good question, Brianna. And I know who you are too, because I just saw on the screen that Brianna comes to a lot of the shows and she makes the mock artwork of.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
So keep going. I hope you're gonna have some great artwork for season 3. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, Brianna. We look forward to it. Jude, what's next?
Hey, Jude.
Jude's our producer, and this question comes from Ryan. Can you share any moments in either the original film or Cobra Kai when you guys had a hard time staying in character? Like, did you catch the laughing bug during a scene or something like that?
Me and Billy had a big scene in season 2 that was at the Mexican restaurant in episode 9, I believe, of season 2, with the 2 lovely ladies, Vanessa and Courtney. It just got the giggles, just like little kids. I was the last to surrender to it, but once I surrendered to it, I was gone. I think, Billy, I do recall, and where did it start? Was it you? I know it was the dojo line.
Yeah, it's something about dojo. I forgot the line. What is it?
But you had to say it so seriously.
Yeah, what was the line? We're in the thing and talking about dojo. Something I said dojo in a funniest way, like we're competing dojos, and then Vanessa broke up, Courtney broke up, and then they couldn't stop laughing. They were laughing so hard that it was literally like a contagious laugh. Where I was out of control, and Ralph was he just held it together, but finally,
I was like rock solid, and then
we were under a time crunch, and I
was getting
frustrated, going, "You guys, we got to finish. We're losing our day. We could not." it was one of those things where you get the giggles and you can't stop it and you can't control it, and it's really actually.
And Billy, you left. Like he had to go outside because there was no way to fix it.
Yeah.
And we knew we were in trouble time wise on the day. I mean, it was a beast of a day anyway. Every day on Cobra Kai is packed with our schedule is very, very tight, and that day we were running out of time, and he stepped out and he came back in, and credit to you, Zabka. He came back in, and that next take there was not a crack, but by then I was gone. So then he had to wait for me to go through my system. Yeah, so that's one that comes to mind. That's
Right on.
Good question.
Very good. My character doesn't laugh at anybody.
He doesn't laugh.
Yeah.
And we don't laugh when he's around.
He just kills. Sorry.
Fair enough. Thank you for that one, Ryan. Jude, what's next? This goes on Natalie. She wants to know, this question is for everybody. How would your characters act during the quarantine? And she adds that she can picture John Kreese in an underground bunker.
I think John Kreese would lead people down the streets, armed people in tactical equipment, and try to rescue the situation. Yeah, I think it would be John Kreese would be right there with the militia. You know, he doesn't know any other way. You know, part of me feels like that too. You know, but you know, I think that's where John would be. You know, he'd come down. He'd probably knock on Billy's door and say, "What are you doing?" You know, and come on with me. You know, yeah, I think he would be leading people down the street. It'll be something like, you know, if we were watching a scene from the Revolutionary War and Boston Party, you know, be something like that. You know, he'd be leading the people throwing the tea into the Boston Harbor.
I absolutely concur with that assessment. That is a very Kreese thing to do.
I know what Johnny would be doing. First of all, he'd be doing what he would say, and he would say quarantines for pussies.
Right.
So he would be running his dojo. He would be getting arrested for doing it. He would be doing everything. He'd be going with everywhere he went. He'd be living life as normal. Not only is quarantine for pussies, so is COVID-19's for pussies as well.
Right.
And let's keep moving. That's what he would do, I think.
Yeah,
right?
and LaRusso being a knee-jerk reactionary kind of guy as he was back in the film, and he probably would go take it like to DEFCON 5.
Yeah.
Like he'd have the pets
already.
Say that again?
Nothing.
I didn't hear you.
Nothing.
Oh God, okay, I'll get it later.
Yeah.
But he'd be, I'm assuming he'd be the opposite on the start till someone tried to pull out the rug under him, and then he'd throw a caution into the wind. I don't know. You know, making it up as I go along. I know what Ralph is doing. That's for sure. I'm following the guidelines.
I see Danny teaching his Miyagi-Do karate, and everybody's wearing rubber gloves.
That's right. Right.
Absolutely. Natalie, that was a great question. Thank you for that one.
Cars at 6 feet apart.
That's
Yeah. Exactly. What's next? This one comes from Scott. Oh, what memorabilia, if any, did each of you keep from Karate Kid?
Well, one of the pieces of memorabilia that I kept from the Karate Kid is in the Cobra Kai series, and that's the yellow 47 Ford convertible. That was the film that was used. That was the car that was used in the original movie, and I was fortunate enough to get that from Columbia Pictures when I was done with the second sequel, and I kept that car, and it was you know, kind of for a while it was like the yellow elephant that had no. There we go. So I couldn't drive the car into the shot, but the car is in the show. And I have the headband and also the trophy, but that's upstairs, so I'm not going to get that now. But Johnny Lawrence, I will segue. And look, it still fits.
Fits like a glove, literally. It's so small. Yeah, this is it, man. This is the beach one, Ralph. So it's in pristine condition. I still got the zippers. The original Cobra Kai patch, the real one. This is it.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, and you notice I had that right off camera because I had a feeling that was going to come. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool. This is it, though. This is it. Ralph got a car. I got this.
No, that one was cheaper to maintain, I promise.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
And then we look over Marty's shoulder, and I wonder if that has anything to do with a piece of memorabilia.
Here, I want you all to meet John Kreese. This is the full life purple person that I look at every day, and just try to remember that I'm not that character.
Oh, very nice.
But he's right there. He's right there. I don't know what else to do with him. Just like John Kreese doesn't know what else to do with himself. You know, I don't know what else to do with that because it's really. And I have my heroes, my dolls. I have this, and I have Billy's in a box. Billy, I have yours in a box that I can't open up.
Thank you.
You know, and I have myself also. These are the 1984 dolls that came originally. They all break because when I play with them, the legs fall off all the time. But those are my cherished memories of our rendezvous with cinema history. You know,
Martin, you can't play with them too hard. I'm sure Kreese wins every match, but you got to lay off a little easy.
Yeah, there was never a tournament. I just fought Pat in the parking lot, and that was it. You know, in the imaginary script.
Indeed. Scott, thank you. That was a great question. Let's Julie, what do you got next? This goes from Helen, and she says, out of both of the Cobra Kai seasons, what was your favorite scene to play? And what was your favorite scene to watch?
Wow.
Hard.
That's not easy. There were a lot. We were lucky. We were lucky. There were a lot of them. One of my favorite scenes to play was the first scene I shot with Billy when I walk in the dojo in season 1 at the end of, I think, episode 2. You know, it was the first scene we played squaring off against each other, and it was like 30 years just disappeared. Outside of a few wrinkles and thinning hairline, it was like magic. The chemistry level was better than I ever remembered it, and had a new depth to it. And that was, and I still enjoy watching that, as well as the, I would say the scene where I go to Miyagi's grave in episode 5 of season 1. That was a poignant one to shoot, and it's one I still enjoy watching. And last season, I also enjoyed our little piece just in the elevator. There were no words spoken, and that and then I can go on because there's so many scenes with the kids and the scene in the backyard with Marty. I give up. They're all awesome. Yeah, they're all good. But those are the ones that really resonate.
I think one of my favorite scenes to play was in episode 1 when I'm watching the TV and Daniel pops on going bonsai, and that whole bit being drinking and the whole Iron Eagle moment. It was just something about that. There's something deep inside of you that, you know, it was kind of the wake up for the character. So there was something really cool about that. Just tapping into that note unlocked a lot of who Johnny is to me right now. But again, I think the other ones really are the first scene with Ralph and the first scene with Marty. Those are the ones that were just like the Karate Kid is. I mean, it's the same. It's just different but same. It's back. So when Ralph walked into the dojo the first time, it was just so awesome. It was just awesome. I love watching it. And also when Marty comes in at the end and does his, beginning of season 2, end of season 1. Those are my 2 favorites to really watch and to feel. But all of them, all the scenes. It's kind of like trying to pick a favorite part of your favorite song. Like what part of it you like it's all one thing. So each scene is special, and the kids are amazing. And the kids, the young adults are amazing. Everybody. Karate Kid is now evolved and marching on into a new generation, and being just all of it is just really. So I enjoy watching stuff that's not me. I mean, I love watching the kids
Yeah.
The end of of last season, end of season 2, and seeing that massive, incredibly choreographed fight. That's one of my favorite things to watch and watch again. So it's great. All of it.
It's interesting that you said, Bill, you said it, and I have the same opinions of the same scenes. The scene you and I, Ralph, in the garden, I just love that. The scene when I come into the dojo with you, it's the same scene you're talking about. When those moments happen, they're just, it's what we all look for in every project we ever make, is that kind of instinctive communication that just happens on a set that, you wish would happen in every project you do. That wonderful communication that makes the project worth doing, whether it's a little movie or, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that I did. I mean, the moments you're there, that really work. The moments in Karate Kid, there's so many, you can't even talk about them, but we all feel it when it happens. And that's, there's probably a dozen scenes I could talk about. But it's a great question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Helen. We have time for one more, so let's see what we will close out with. This one comes from Meg. She wants to know, what is your favorite memory of the late Pat Morita?
Wow. It's a simple question but a tough answer, because there were so many. The lame thing to say is there were so many great moments, but it's the truth. I would say it sort of blurs into one thing for me, and because there were so many times his dedication to the importance and the responsibility of him playing Mr. Miyagi, and what he felt the importance of the portrayal of that character was on more levels than we know. His purity toward being honest to that character and making sure he was doing justice to him and what he represented through his character as a Japanese American, as a father figure, and all those things to me were what I experienced working with him. So it's one long memory that I'll forever take, and I try to use whenever I embrace a character that I'm playing, because his dedication to it was so clear. And also his fart jokes and everything else that happened in between.
His sense of humor is renowned.
Yes. And he would go right from that. He would do, those real tender moments, and then as soon as we cut, he'd lay a, audio fart on you, or whatever it was. He was a comic at heart with a lot of soul, a lot of heart and soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard to pick a moment. It's just the essence.
Yeah.
The essence of who Pat was is my favorite memory.
Right.
So many different things. He's a great actor. He was funny. He was endearing. He was like an uncle. He was selfless. He was, just so light to be around. We stayed in touch. So all the way up to when he passed. So my favorite memory of Pat Morita is just who he was and all his story of where he started in his whole life and his career. Specifically, I could say two things. One is the fence fight scene when I was rehearsing with Ralph, and he said, I was going at it, I guess, half speed. And he pulled me aside and he said, "Billy, easy, give 110% when the cameras are rolling. It's like bread and butter." He kind of upped my performance and energy in that scene, so I'll always remember that moment. And then when we did the tour for Karate Kid, and I was in New York and he was somewhere, we were just doing press junkets, and I was green as anything, and I was being shuttled in a limousine to an airplane to a hotel, and there's cameras, and it was brand new for me. It was overwhelming, and he would check on me every night and call the hotels. I was like, "Easy, easy." He kept me cool, so he was just great. There's two guys in with us. I know he's watching down from above. I feel like he's part of the show in spirit, and like Ralph always said, the show doesn't exist without him. So available. There's so much for the trailer for
It'd be,
All right, Marty,
be
go.
really interesting to see how he'd fit into this game we're playing now. You know, my experience with him was very simple. You know, every moment was very real. And my third audition for Guy McElwain, the head of the studio, was on the set reading with Pat and John Avildsen's assistant holding the camera over his shoulder and filming that scene. I think it was one in the dojo that we do with Ralph. But, you know, we're talking about a consummate actor, a guy who could do comedy, a guy who could do vulnerability. And he was the best. He was, you know, I'd love to figure out how he could fit into this thing we're doing, you know. Certainly fit a lot in season 3, you know, he could fit into a lot of stuff there, you know. With you, Ralph, I mean, that'd be great. But yeah,
absolutely.
Consummate soul.
Meg, thank you so much for that question. Gentlemen, Ralph, you mentioned that season 3 is on the launching pad. Is there a launch date?
There is not a launch date. We're going to get exciting news coming our way about the launch of season 3 very soon. We all wish we had that info. Yeah. But what we do have is very soon. It's all that, and this is the thing. It's been completed. A lot of people are like, wait, maybe they never finished it, or the pandemic came and intercepted it. No, we got done shooting the show there through post-production, and now just with the world being flipped upside down, we are awaiting that information. But it's super exciting, and it's coming really soon. So get ready. This season, we had so much fun making this season. It's bigger than ever.
I, for one, as a huge fan of the show, I am so looking forward to it. And again, gentlemen, I thank you so much for what you've done with this series. You've honored yourselves as actors. You've honored these characters. And this movie is referred to as the big chill of my generation. And I absolutely agree with that. And it's just such a pleasure to see you guys work. It's always a pleasure to see you guys in person. And again, we hope to have you on our stages again, live in front of your fans. And until then, thank you for this format. GalaxyCon viewers, this has been the cast of Cobra Kai, and that was my time.